What up YouTube? This is Steven and welcome back to another video. In this video, I want to discuss Ben Carson's comment in regards to African slaves being immigrants. Alright, so when I first heard that comment, I was browsing around the internet and I saw like an article and it said it didn't say Ben Carson's name, but it said like basically more or less like somebody in the Trump administration referred to slaves as immigrants. And his name, like when I was thinking of the people who it could possibly have been, he didn't come to mind. And I guess part of the reason that he didn't come to mind was that I didn't think that any black person, even a coon, no matter how coonerific, would say something like that. Usually if like a coonerific person would say something like that, it would be something along the lines of like, oh, slavery happened, centuries ago, get over it and do something with your life. Build a bridge and get over it. Something like that. Not just something like this where it's just totally like erasing the, African slave experience in the Americas, really, not just the United States, but also in the Americas, because slavery was in more places than the United States. But for this video, we're going to just concentrate on the United States, right? So really, I think that this situation is like, really, it's kind of like almost like we need a new word to describe this. I don't think Coon really even captures the essence of just how terrible this is. Super Coon, maybe. I don't know. But I was like, really? And what Ben Carson did, not only is it ignorant, of course, extremely ignorant and foolish, but more so it's dangerous, because what he did was kind of like, in a subtle way, contribute to the erasure of slaves, and their experience in the United States. And, as you already know, if you've been through public school, they don't really go into depth about slavery and about what actually went into constructing and creating the America that we know today. So I really think that what Ben Carson did was dangerous, because it sort of helps push that erasure forward. Because there was this story about this this school system in Texas using a book that referred to slaves as immigrants, and when this story came up, that popped into my mind. So I'm like, it seems like they're trying to push this narrative now. It seems like, the white establishment, white supremacy, somebody is trying to push this narrative and trying to kind of like erase, or not necessarily erase, but really like rewrite history. And I'm like, did someone pay Ben Carson to say that? But then again, Ben Carson does have a history of saying like really crazy things. But I'm thinking like, okay, I know you bad, but I didn't think you were like, that far gone. I didn't think you were that far gone. Because also it's, for him to say that, it would mean that he is sort of like distance himself, or some, like when he says that, it's kind of like him also saying that he doesn't really see like a connection between him and like African ancestors who were slaves. Like it seemed like it's a disconnect, because it's like, well, if you did feel a connection, how could you say something like that, right? But then again, I guess, I don't know, I guess maybe I gave Ben Carson too much credit, and maybe I let Ben Carson slide too many times already as it is. I mean, Ben Carson did, like, run. He ran as a Republican, but both parties are crappy, so whatever. He endorsed uh, DJ Trump for president. Okay, and he's working for DJ Trump now. So I'm like, well, I guess Ben Carson really needs a check, apparently. But yeah, I'm like, whoa, like I don't know. This is a whole new level. This is dangerous at this point because this is really that really contributed to the erasure of Black people as a group in the Black experience in the United States, or the African experience. Some people say Black, some people say African. I think African is probably more correct in this situation, but I don't know the African experience, you know. And also, when he was called out on this, he went on to, he didn't just say, oh, I misspoke, or, you're taking it out of context. Like, oh, he went on to defend what he said. He went on to defend and say something to the extent of like, um, you know, immigrants um, can be immigrants whether willingly or unwillingly, something like that. And I'm like, really, really, is that like really? We're going here now because he could have just totally just backtracked and just apologized for it, but no, he wants to defend it. But then later on, according to the View at least, he wound up saying something to the effect of like, he should not have mixed the immigrant experience with the slave experience because those are two extremely different experiences. Slaves did not come here via Ellis Island. They did not register. Well, they may have been registered, maybe, but they were treated like property, not as people. And I know I'm just saying things that are just so common sense, but I just, for some reason, feel the need to reiterate those things, Again, I don't even think white people at that particular time are considered immigrants. I don't think like the founding fathers are considered immigrants, in my opinion. I consider those to be colonizers. I consider African people to be prisoners, like prisoners of war. Um, so it's like we like to put, not we, but like people like to push that narrative like, oh, America is a land of immigrants. You know, on one hand, you could argue that, but on the other hand, well, I don't think immigrants really founded America, and they like to say that, immigrants founded America. No, I would say those were colonizers who founded America. It's not like white people just came over here and like, la di da, I'm going to, start a new wholesome life. Like, really, that was an act of terrorism, to keep it real. If any other group did this in the present day, like say if some people from the Middle East came over and did what white people did, they would be considered terrorists. So really, America was founded on an act of terrorism. Unfortunately, that's the history of our country. Genocide and slavery crafted American society, unfortunately. And, people often say like, well, we can't change the past, what happened happened. And that is true. What happened did happen. We can't change the past, but we can challenge the present that the past created. We can do that. But people don't want to, like a lot of people don't want to do that. A lot of people just want to live in la la land and just pretend like everything's all good, but it's really not. It's just, especially like at this point now, this is this country that elected Donald, DJ Trump, as I call him, president, and they elected him president for a reason that he appealed to them, and he appealed to like the racist white folks, and don't get it twisted, because when Donald Trump or DJ Trump got elected, people were trying to blame it on like, oh, black people didn't vote high enough, they're to blame. Or like, oh, Hispanic people didn't vote high enough, they're to blame. you know? But no, it was white people who got Donald Trump into office in the first place. It was white people who voted in large numbers for Donald Trump, you know? But Ben Carson is, to bring it back to Ben Carson, Ben Carson basically is an example of that. You can be very educated, but you can be also very ignorant. You know, on one hand, Ben Carson is extremely educated and very skilled as a neurosurgeon, and I wouldn't take that away from him. But on the other hand, he's very, very ignorant. Like I don't like even the most coonerific black people that I, have you know known about. I don't know what I don't like would say. I don't think they would even say something like this. I don't think. I think usually I'm just used to coonerific people downplaying slavery, but not just totally erasing it. So Ben Carson just took it to a whole new level, and I'm like, Ben Carson, like you too, like to keep it real, like you too black, you too educated, and you too old to say something like that. You should know. I maybe expect some like millennium to say it, maybe, but not someone who is as old as Ben Carson, who is as black as Ben Carson, and who is as educated as Ben Carson. But this is just goes to show you that you can be an educated fool, you can be an old fool, and you can be a black fool. You know, they aren't mutually exclusive. Um, and I was debating whether or not to make a video about this, but the part of the reason that I wanted to make a video about this, because like a lot of people are talking about it, and a lot of people are saying things that I'm already saying, and a lot of times when that happens, I'm like, well, what's the point of really making a video? Because, well, people are already saying what I want to say, so I don't really feel inclined to make a video about certain things, like, a good enough job on its own, like, right. But what I did want to emphasize again is the danger, how dangerous what Ben Carson did was dangerous. It does contribute to the erasure of black people, or like the black/African experience in the United States. And I think like a lot of people, like particularly white people, would love to erase that from their history, and that can't be erased, that can't be erased. It Because I think the thing is with white people, they want to erase that because it makes them look bad, because they don't really like to talk about it in history books. So they're not really extremely proud of that aspect of their history. So they downplay it and ignore it and omit it at times. You notice when it's like, oh, it's Confederate Day, and oh, let's wave the Confederate flag. They don't ever want to talk about slavery and how that's associated with the Confederate flag. So it's like they don't want to talk about certain aspects of their history because they know that those aren't aspects of their history that show them in a good like show them in a good light. It's not something that makes them seem like people who are the beacon of morality, as they like to kind of place themselves as. In fact, it does the opposite. It really shows like just how, vicious and malicious and evil, like demonic white people are, like, because it's like one thing to like maybe exploit someone in the labor force, You know, like some immigrants from who immigrated from Eastern Europe during the like 1900s were exploited in the labor force. It's one thing to just exploit someone in the labor force, but it's another thing to um, like force them into like chattel slavery and like beat people, rape people, whip people, you know, use people as like, you know, science experiments, you know, just all the negative things. And like Dr. Joy DeGruy said, um, like when we as African Americans, you know, talk about our history, we really pull back the sheet, you know, pull back the covers of like white people and show them as they really are. And they don't want to be shown like that because they want to be able to be proud of what they have, because they can't be proud of what they have if they're feeling like, oh, I got this because of, you know, being, you know, just basically like a cave beast, you know, just being some monster that really terrorized the whole globe, really. Keep it real. Um, and that's true. Like, it's like just a legacy of destruction all over the globe, like in the Americas, you know, in Africa, in Asia, in Australia, heck, even in Europe. The only place that was spared was Antarctica, and nothing's there. You know, it's like, dang, like, and so I think that really gets to white people's minds too. You know, like it kind of makes them start to feel a certain way. You know, so then they want to try and rewrite history. And I just don't think that Ben Carson, especially as a black man, needs to be helping white people rewrite history. They need to put in that work on their own. Really, they don't need to be doing it, but they ain't gonna be using us to do it, you know. Although I don't think I should be even include Ben Carson in us. I really don't think so. But I mean, at the end of the day, he is black, but you know, his mind is his mind ain't black. So I guess that's pretty much all I have to say. You know, I just wanted to bring up that aspect of what Ben Carson said because I don't think a lot of people have been mentioning that. At least in what I've been seeing. A lot of people have just been going in on Ben Carson and how he's like, you know, a coon, you know, and those are valid arguments, definitely. But again, the more serious topic is the erasure of black people and the black experience in the United States. That is actually, again, very dangerous. It's actually very serious. It's something that needs to be spotlighted, you know, something that needs to be focused on because that is happening. You know, this is just a small little portion of it, but it's been happening for a while actually. Because again, when you're in public school, if you've gone to public school, how much do you really know? Like, do you like how much do you really know about the African experience in the United States based on just public school learning? You know, kindergarten through 12th grade. How much did you really get from that? You know, especially if you are in an area where it's like majority black, you still ain't getting that stuff taught to you in the school system. And I really think like they need to offer like an African American studies course in schools that have a large African American population. Really all together, but at least in schools that have a large African American population. Me personally, my schools, the schools that I attended in grade school were majority black, but we never really had like an African American studies course. Our teachers, the teachers that we had did speak on it because the majority of the teachers um, that I had were black. Um, And so, things like this kind of did come up here and there, but nothing like a course, though. And I think that could help. But the thing is, like, how far are we into this, and that isn't a part of the curriculum? That speaks to like a major issue in itself. We're this far along, and we don't even have, like, we're not even a part of the curriculum, really. Like, and our experience is significant to the American experience. Our contribution to America is very significant, but we're not getting the acknowledgement. But perhaps Ben may learn a lesson from this. I doubt it. I mean, even if he does learn a lesson from this, he can't really. What he gonna do? What really he gonna do? He gonna get fired if he do something, really. He working for DJ Trump now, pretty much his administration, so he got to follow their rules. And he may have been even made to say something like that. But I don't know which one is worse, him agreeing to say something like that, or him just coming up with that himself. I think him coming up with that himself is worse, because that really means he is far gone. His mind, like, to be a neurosurgeon, I mean, your mind is pretty warped, But I think I've said all I have to say. Long story short, Ben Carson has become a dangerous coon, and a black erasure is continuing. Be aware. Call it out when you see it. Fight against it. Thanks a lot for watching. Feel free to comment. Feel free to subscribe. Feel free to give me a thumbs up. Your feedback and support are extremely appreciated and extremely valued. Until the next video, adios and goodbye for now.